So these are the ingredients. We're gonna make a chicken dum biryani. That's the traditional dum biryani where you just marinate the chicken and then you add a layer of chicken on the bottom of the base, and then you add rice, part cooked rice on top, and then you just seal the whole uh, kadai so that you can it steams in its own flavors. So the ingredients we need for the dum biryani is I'm going to start with the yogurt. This is about 2 tablespoons, heapful spoons of yogurt. You got about 1.5 teaspoon of red chili powder. You got about 1 teaspoon of garam masala, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, crushed black pepper. You got again about 1/4 teaspoon of haldi, about a teaspoon and a quarter of freshly grounded dhania powder. That's about 1 tablespoon of ginger garlic paste, and that will be about 1 cup of dried onions, dried fried onions. Then you got green chilies and red chilies mixed, so that's about, I would say, 1 tablespoon. And you get again about a tablespoon and a half of chopped coriander, and about 500 to 600 grams of chicken pieces. So we're just going to marinate all this. We've also got about 1/4 cup of oil for the marination, and so we're going to marinate all this, and I'll show you the marination process. So we're starting the marination process now. You've got vegetable. I've taken half vegetable oil and half mustard oil. You could just take just vegetable oil as well, it's good enough. So we're gonna add all the spices in first and mix it up well. There's the green chilies. So we have the ginger garlic paste all ready. I'm gonna put the red chilies and just gonna add some salt. Now I'm taking about a tablespoon of salt to start with, and then I can add more into it later on. So I'm just going to mix this up first. You want to try and take a little taste of this to check your marinations. That seems good. Now I'm going to add the chicken into it first. Mix the chicken up properly. Now we're going to add the fried onions. Now we're going to add the rest of the yogurt. And the coriander on top. Now we're going to give this a mix. You have to keep in mind that the chicken is going to absorb some salt. So you might have to, and then with all these other ingredients gone in, you might find the salt a little less. So you have to also keep in mind that because it's going to be a biryani, you need to have, because the rice is also going to absorb some salt, so you need to proportion it likewise. That's more or less done. Now to really get the flavors going in this, you want to marinate this for at least, ideally I would do it for overnight, but even 6 hours to 12 hours is good enough, so that once the biryani is cooked, you'll see the pieces just breaking off quite nicely. So that's about it for now. See you in the next video. So we got the water boiling for the biryani rice. I've added some salt into it. I'm gonna add some bay leaves, some black peppercorns, some green cardamom, cinnamon stick, this is jawitri, and some cloves. I'm just gonna add another last ingredient, and that's a little bit of desi ghee, so that the rice, when it cooks, it's gonna loosen up nicely. I'm gonna let this boil, bring it up to a boil, and I've got the rice soaked away for about an hour now. Once the water comes to a boil, I will add the rice into the water and start cooking it, and cook it till about it's 3/4 ready, and then we'll drain it and we'll get back to that process in a bit. So we've got the water boiling, and I've added the salt and everything else. I'm just going to add the rice, and then we're going to let this cook for about till it's 3/4 cooked. And now it's a good idea to also just taste your water, because you can get the seasoning right for your rice. Then this is gonna cook for, and I think we'll be back in the next 15-20 minutes. So now I've got the pan ready for the biryani. I'll just add a little bit of ghee at the bottom, so that it doesn't stick when we add the biryani rice. Now I'm going to add some potatoes down over here at the bottom. This is, I generally like to have potatoes in my biryani, and this basically, keeping it at the bottom, kind of helps the rice not to stick, and even the meat and the masalas. So it's just making like a little base for it, and then we'll add the rice and everything into it following that. In the meantime, the other ingredients we would need, because we're going to be layering the rice and the chicken, so we've got a little bit of mint, chopped coriander, and a little bit of fried onions again. And we've got the rice, which is ready over there, and this is 3/4 cooked. I've just sprinkled a little bit of red color water and a little bit of turmeric water, so just to give that biryani look and color to it. I would just use a little bit to sprinkle it at the bottom, so that when the masala starts leaving its water and its juices, the rice can absorb all of that. Go, that's good. Now I'm gonna bring, that's the chicken that's been marinating for about 24 hours now. We did this yesterday, so we're just gonna start laying this at the bottom. And all the masala as well. What we're going to do is sprinkle a bit of fried onions A little coriander and a little bit of mint. And then we're gonna add a layer of the rice. What I'm just going to do is mix the plain rice along with the colored rice, so there's a mix of everything. I like to use my hands as much as possible. Now we should add just a little bit back of this again. Once this is cooked on low flame, you'd see as soon as you open this, you're going to get some amazing fragrance coming from all of these spices. And then we just start making the second layer of the biryani. Just spreading the masala everywhere around so it spreads nicely and the juices go to the bottom. Now we add the remaining portion of the rice. Also, these whole garam masalas that we had added before while boiling the rice, that adds some flavor back into the dish once it's being cooked. There we go. Right, for the biryani I had taken for now about this 600 grams of chicken. I had taken about 350 grams of basmati rice, and then I soaked that for a good hour and a half. Now this is ready. Just gonna sprinkle the last bits of the coriander. Basically just sprinkle everything. There we go. Now we're going to seal this off. It's already on. The gas is on right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of bring it to a boil and then reduce the heat and then just let it simmer for a good 2 hours till it's nicely tender and cooked through the chicken. You can hear it already sizzling, so I'm going to kind of make it a little low. Now if you look at my flame, it's the small gas, so I'm going to keep it on a minimum with that. So yeah. So this is the dough that's ready to seal the biryani pot. I've just used plain flour to seal it up. Then you just roll them into thin round things like this, and we just place it on here. This is a little difficult, let's just see. I'm just trying to hold the camera and do this at the same time. You just seal it along the pot like that. So you're covering just this bit, so you've got something hanging over here at the bottom, and you got on this side, so this will seal the whole pot off well. That's what it looks like. Now there's 2 dollops of ghee I've just added on top. I'll just seal the whole pot and show you all the video again. So that's the pot sealed now with the biryani in it. You'll see I've added a glass of water on top. It's basically good that if you can kind of put some pressure over the pan so that the steam does not escape and your meat gets cooked well. Now this would go on, I would cook this on the lowest flame, that's like that, and I'd cook it for, I'd say, 2 hours gently. So this has been sitting and cooking for about 2.5 hours. I'm gonna just try and that's how it opens. It smells yum. And now the way we gonna remove this is I'm going to dig into this straight down so that we have a layer of biryani that comes. Let's see. Looks nice. You can see all the juices have trickled down right till the bottom, and let's just see how the chicken, look at that, it just falls off the bone just like that, just by touching it. So that is our chicken dum biryani.